Welcome to Storm Watch. Coming up shortly, I'll have a look at showers and thunderstorms across Philadelphia, even some rain heading up toward New York City. Right now, though, we do have a developing tropical storm in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. Our hurricane expert, John Hope, is here to tell us all about the tropics.
Well, thank you, Rich, and good afternoon, everybody. Yes, indeed, Rich, down here in the Gulf of Mexico, we have Tropical Storm Bret, very close to being a hurricane. We think it will be a hurricane, perhaps as early as tonight or sometime tomorrow. In addition to that, we have a very active tropical depression out in the East Atlantic, and we'll talk about both of those features here. First of all, the latest information at 1 o'clock Central Daylight Time on Bret. At that time, it was centered in 21-1, 94-4. That's 235 miles to the east-southeast of Tampico, Mexico. Winds 65 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour short of hurricane strength, and moving just about straight toward the north at about 6 miles per hour. And the pressure is measured by reconnaissance aircraft now down to 992 millibars. We do have out some tropical storm warnings, and they extend from La Pesca, Mexico, down to Veracruz. And for that same area, we have a hurricane watch from La Pesca, again, down to Veracruz, Mexico. No warnings are out or no watches out for anything in continental United States yet, so please note that. However, the north movement causes a little bit of concern, but right now, we don't want to alert the area in South Texas. It still appears the most likely track is for the storm to turn back more toward the west and be more of a threat perhaps to Mexico than it will be to Texas. But we have to wait another day or so to really clarify that. In the meantime, we would just like folks up, say, in Texas to sort of keep track of this and know that it is there, it is increasing, it's likely to be a hurricane. And every time there's a hurricane, of course, in the Gulf of Mexico, we need to pay a lot of attention to it. Here's the infrared picture, and everything we see out here, the reconnaissance reports, the satellite pictures, all suggest that this is getting better organized and getting stronger as time goes by. Our tropical depression is way out here in the Atlantic. It's 90 miles to the south-southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. Winds just 35 miles an hour, moving toward the west at 9. And it looks as if that west movement is going to continue for quite some time to come. It's going to be with us for quite a long time. We think there's a very good chance that this will become a tropical storm. It's a bit too early to say yet whether or not it might become a hurricane, but it well might. And it is staying now at pretty low latitude, so we wouldn't want to say anybody is going to miss it for sure farther west. Just need to watch it. It's a long ways away. You have several days, nothing to worry about yet, but watch it. Now, as far as the rest of the area is concerned, in the Pacific, we have a little bit of disturbance here on the Pacific side. But first of all, I wanted to show you that in the Eastern Caribbean and the Western Atlantic, just fair weather cumulus. It's just a gorgeous day there. It couldn't be any nicer. And out in the Atlantic, we can just see our depression beginning to come on to this picture. Well, so now we will go to the Pacific for real and talk about just one storm we have left in this part of the world. That's Fernanda. Winds are down to 40 miles an hour. It is moving toward the west about 8 miles an hour. It looks as if it's going to weaken further. As we look at the satellite picture, it does seem to be weakening, and we don't think this is going to be anything that we need to be concerned about at all. So that's the tropics, and now let's go back to Rich Johnson. Rich?
All right, John, let's take a look at what's going on back across the country again. If we could have a look at the current weather. Can we see that out there? Well, let's go back to the current weather map of the United States and we'll see what's going on. If we have that available, anytime, I'll be ready for it. Do we have it? There it is. That's what we're waiting for. Thank you very much. Well, anyhow, back over to Pennsylvania, right on down to Philadelphia, we do have some showers and some thunderstorms building up. Some of these could be severe from southeast PA, actually all the way down toward the Florida border. Latest radar, though, showing the most active weather. Thunderstorms building in east central North Carolina as well as southern New Jersey near Atlantic City. Rain.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Storm Watch. I'm Sharon Rizalton. There is plenty to talk about as we take a look at the lower 48 and also at the tropics. And this is Tropical Storm Bret. You can see the very latest coordinates, now centered at 21.3 north, 94.4 west, 230 miles to the east-southeast of Tampico, Mexico. Sustained winds now of 65 miles per hour. This has really blossomed in the past 24 hours. So if you were tuning in this time last night, you would be very surprised to see that the central pressure has now dropped to 992 millibars, where it was at 1,000 millibars about this time last night. It is moving north slowly to about 7 miles per hour, so it is making some movement after just 24 hours ago remaining nearly stationary down here around the Bay of Campeche. Let's go ahead and take a look at the hurricane advisories that are in effect here. We do have some hurricane watches from La Pesca all the way back down to Veracruz, Mexico. Yes, this is expected to reach hurricane strength. That answers that question. It's sitting over very warm waters and open waters. It's still some distance from the coast, and there is ample time for this because of the slow movement to slowly strengthen. So we do think that this will reach hurricane force. There are still some tropical storm warnings in effect, meaning that tropical storm conditions are imminent here along the same region from La Pesca all the way back down to Veracruz, Mexico. As a matter of fact, some of the first things you're going to see will be the high swells, the very high surf, maybe even some beach flooding here along coastal sections of Mexico. And this could happen as early as tonight, and certainly on into Saturday would be well underway. Heavy rain is also going to be a factor with this, and the exact track still not known yet. We're seeing again that northward movement as we've seen steadily throughout the day. The center of circulation right about in here. This is a visible picture, and we can show you this for the next couple of hours or so before it fades away, but it certainly gives you a very good indication of where the center of circulation is, and it also gives you a very good indication of the outflow that's beginning to get going here with this particular tropical storm. And yes, again, it's looking very healthy, and there's every opportunity for this to strengthen. All right, let's take a look at it, a broader perspective, so you can see Brownsville, Texas, and then all the way down here is Tropical Storm Bret. Again, the exact path is not known, but it is expected sometime tomorrow to start to take more of a northwest turn. So we would advise you anywhere here along the Mexican coast and even the southeastern, or really all of the Texas coast, just kind of keep an eye on this along with us. You know how this can be. A lot of times these things can take a sudden jog, so we're going to be continuing to monitor the situation very, very closely for you. But do keep in mind that even though it's down into the Bay of Campeche right now, it is by Saturday expected to start to take more of a northwesterly turn, so we'll bear some watching along the Texas coast and the Mexican coast. In and around the Caribbean, we're going to find lots of hot spots here with thunderstorms, but these are run-of-the-mill afternoon storms that pop up over the very hot land and then begin to diminish after we lose the sun's heating, so nothing organized here. We do have another tropical storm to speak of. This just upgraded to a tropical storm as of our 5 o'clock advisory, and this is Tropical Storm Cindy. Days and days away from the islands, if in fact it is even going to affect the islands. But here you can see as it moves away from the Cape Verde Islands and continues, it's looking a bit more healthy than it did, say, just 24 hours ago. Of course, the Lesser Antilles, the Windward and the Leeward Islands, well off to the west, say some 4 to 5 days away, assuming this would even make it that far, and that's still a big assumption. We'll have to keep an eye on this one. All right, let's go ahead and look at your tropical storm here in the Pacific. Very active in the tropics. This is Fernanda. It's expected to continue to weaken, and it's moving away from land. Not a real healthy looking storm. You can see it off on your screen. And finally, we'll take you into the lower 48, showing you again where the cloud masses are. Keep an eye on what's going on here across the east as we continue to find a threat for some strong to severe thunderstorms across this region. We're going to have more on this watch coming up on Weather Center. Well, this was Storm Watch, sponsored by APC. When we return, we'll talk more about the tropics and the stormy weather in the east.
The sizzling south gets a Friday cool down, and some beneficial rain makes a move on the east. Will stormy weather help or hurt your area? Get your expert forecast ahead on Weather Center.
This program was sponsored by American Power Conversion, legendary reliability.
Power problems affect you. They can attack your PC up to 120 times per month and will strike without warning. APC's legendary reliability combines world-class surge suppression with instant battery backup to bring uninterruptible power to your desktop. To find out more about protecting your PC, visit www.iwantapc.com. APC. Starting at $99, it's power protection that pays for itself in seconds.
I think I just had a wake-up call.
It is time now for your Storm Watch and also for your tropical update, sponsored by Home Depot. We'll start you out first with the activity in the tropics, and our tropical storm Bret continues to sit and stir here and strengthen as we head into the western Gulf of Mexico down into the Bay of Campeche. Here are the latest coordinates now, centered at 21.9 north, 94.4 west. That puts it 225 miles east of Tampico, Mexico. Sustained winds of 65 miles per hour, so it is a strong tropical storm. It is moving to the north at 9 miles per hour, and the central pressure 983 millibars. And this has dropped dramatically throughout the day. And when the pressure drops like that, we eventually expect those winds to pick up. Again, important things to note here: it is still out over warm, open water. And I say that because anytime we have a tropical entity over warm water like that, there is every opportunity for this to strengthen. It is not undergoing any shear, so yes, we do think that this will strengthen to hurricane force, and we'll be watching for that as we go through the overnight and on into your Saturday. Now, with anticipation of this strengthening to a hurricane, hurricane watches have already been established from Apasca, Mexico on southward to Veracruz, Mexico. And this just means that hurricane conditions may be possible as we head into the next 24 hours or so. So we certainly want to keep an eye out for that. Tropical storm warnings are already in effect, and it is quite possible that we could start to see some of that higher surf and some of the beach flooding taking place as we go into the overnight and then on into your Saturday across this same area. With that said, I also want to mention that the exact path is still not known. This is officially forecast to start to move more to the northwest as we trend on into Saturday, but we really want to keep an eye out for this and would advise all of you along the western Gulf of Mexico here to really keep an eye on this. All interests along the Gulf Coast need to kind of keep a wary eye out for Tropical Storm Bret, just to see what it's going to do. And perfect opportunity for you folks, say in areas like New Orleans, just to get into prep mode. We've been encouraging you to do that throughout the tropical season. This is the perfect time. Don't wait until hurricane watches or warnings are established for you. Get into that frame of mind beforehand and play it safe. It's looking more and more impressive on the satellite picture. There's no doubt about that. We're seeing all the convection or thunderstorm activity in that central dense overcast around that center of circulation, and that's certainly a sign that this is getting more and more organized. We'll keep an eye out for that, and we encourage you to tune it back in and see how Tropical Storm Bret is progressing. Elsewhere, as we go out into the Caribbean, nothing organized here. Run-of-the-mill thunderstorms developing over the hot land masses, and then they kind of drift off over the open water, but nothing organized. We have another tropical storm way out here into the eastern Atlantic. This is Tropical Storm Cindy. Became a tropical storm as of our 5 o'clock advisory. Sustained winds of 40 miles per hour, and it's moving to the west at 12 miles per hour. And again, may see some fluctuations with this as it continues to head on westward. By the way, this is days away from the Lesser Antilles, if in fact it would even have some sort of an impact there, and that is a big if at this point. It's just something to keep an eye out for. Fernanda, this is our tropical storm in the eastern Pacific, certainly some distance away from the Hawaiian Islands and away from the U.S., only a threat to shipping out there, as we think that will eventually weaken a bit. You see occasional flare-ups with this, but remember, it's out over open water and is not going to affect any land masses. We are concerned, however, about the thunderstorms that stretch all the way down through the deep south and into southeastern Texas. Occasional strong storms. Just looking at the latest radar around D.C., we're getting a strong cluster of storms between Washington, D.C. and the Baltimore area. And we're going to highlight that coming up next on Weather Center. But in the meantime, this is the region where we're watching out for some severe weather heading into the next several hours. We'll be back with more details on the stormy weather next.
Storms are good news for the hot and humid south and drought-stricken areas of the northeast and mid-Atlantic. Plus, Tropical Storm Bret intensifies its path and potential impact just ahead.
This program was sponsored by Home Depot, where low prices are just the beginning.
Once upon a time, there was a gentleman came in from the islands, and he had this huge list of things to buy. Wow. Let's start enlightening. They had sent him over here to buy all the supplies they needed for the whole year. Next, we're going to lumber, plumbing, hardware. He says, you know, they gave me 4 days to do this, and I got it all done in one stop at Home Depot.
Paint your home like a pro with an airless sprayer.
Some much-needed rain is falling in parts of the northeastern U.S., and we have our first hurricane of the Atlantic season. Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel. This is Storm Watch, and let's move right into the tropical update so I can bring you the latest details on this. Hurricane Bret, just upgraded as of 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and this system again is our first hurricane of the 1999 hurricane season. It is moving to the north as of 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The center located at 94.5 west, 22.3 north. That is about 345 miles east, or about 215 miles east of Tampico, Mexico. The movement is to the north at 9 miles an hour. Top winds 75 miles an hour, so it is a minimal Category 1 hurricane at this time, but the official forecast continues to bring it north and continues to strengthen it over the next 24 to 48 hours. And this system is in a fairly good situation for development. It has good outflow on all quadrants at the upper levels, so it's able to vent its exhaust, so to speak. Here, a hurricane is a giant heat engine. It takes the heat here near the surface of the ocean and vents it up out into the upper atmosphere and distributes it out. And we are seeing that tonight here as this system continues to strengthen. The central pressure has dropped now to 981 millibars, and that is quite a drop from 6 hours previous to that when it was at 993 millibars. So quite a drop here over the last 6 hours, and this system continues to strengthen, and there are now watches and warnings posted. Hurricane watch up now from La Pesca, Mexico down to Veracruz, and a tropical storm warning in the same area. Let's look at this a little bit again, because I wanted to point out something here. What we're seeing, again, is a track to the north. The official forecast track bends to the northwest here, coming into the northeastern corner of Mexico in the next couple of days. However, the forecast tracks, as time has gone on, have come further and further north. So as this storm continues to progress north, if you're watching me from the coast of Texas or even heading into the central Gulf of Mexico coast, you should be starting to think, what if? What if this does come farther north and affect me? What if I'm put under a hurricane watch? How would I react? Where are my evacuation routes? Where would I house the family pet if the hurricane shelter doesn't take pets? Who would I inform of what's going on in terms of, let them know where you're going to be going to? Ask these questions of yourself now, not when there's a system bearing down on you. We'll continue to follow Hurricane Bret over the next several days as it churns here in the Gulf of Mexico. Let's move to the Caribbean, where not too much happening right now. Some convection here to the southwest of Jamaica, but a lot of shear from northeast to southwest, so not expected to see any development here. However, there is another tropical system I need to bring you up to date on in the Atlantic. That is Tropical Storm Cindy, which is pulsing a little bit, seeing a little bit better organization here just to the southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. As of 10 p.m. at Eastern Standard Time, or 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the center of Tropical Storm Cindy, located near latitude 13.6 north, 28.3 west, 270 miles southwest of Cape Verde Islands, moving to the west near 13 miles an hour, and top winds are at about 45 miles an hour. So we'll be following this over the next several days. The National Hurricane Center believes that this system has the potential to strengthen into hurricane as it moves across the Atlantic. Our last stop is to the Eastern Pacific, where we do have the remnants of what was once a fairly powerful system, now a tropical depression. This is Tropical Depression Fernanda, heading to the west away from land. We come back to the U.S., where we have been seeing quite a lot of activity here along a frontal boundary stretching from the northeast into the southeast, and this has been producing a lot of rain. We've seen some severe weather with this, but it is bringing some beneficial rains into the northeast. We'll be watching for thunderstorms along this system and across the upper Midwest and into the southwest. For example, let's look at the mid-Atlantic radar. Some thunderstorms still rumbling across the Delmarva Peninsula, but a fair amount of rain falling now in southern New England, and that is certainly excellent news. It looks like through the mid-morning hours on Saturday, we could see up to a ½ an inch of rain across parts of the mid-Atlantic. We'll have more details coming up next in Weather.